Welcome to the programme. Israel has this afternoon carried out its heaviest strikes on Lebanon since the war began, this just hours after the Iran ceasefire came into force. Airstrikes hit the very centre of Beirut this afternoon, as well as the southern suburbs. No warning was given before the strikes. The Israeli military said it hit about 100 locations, describing them as Hezbollah sites. Dozens of people have been reported killed, hundreds more wounded. And let's start by listening to the Israeli Minister of Defence, who's been speaking a short while ago.
The Israeli army carried out a surprise strike on hundreds of Hezbollah terrorists at command centers across Lebanon. This is the largest concentrated blow Hezbollah has suffered since Operation Beepers.
Well, let's go live to the Lebanese capital, Beirut, on the programme. Rania Abouzeid joins me. She's a journalist and author in the city. Rania, look, thank you so much for speaking to us on a day where there appear to have been such intense attacks on your city.
Yes, thank you. No, and as we speak now, the Israeli drones remain overhead in Beirut. But the Israeli Prime Minister's office made it clear this morning that it didn't think that Lebanon was part of this region-wide ceasefire, even though the Pakistani mediators said that it was, and Iran was insisting that it was across all fronts. But I can tell you that from the morning there have been attacks. But the morning attacks, the Israelis provided warnings for those attacks, and they were mainly in the south, in southern Lebanon and in parts of the Bekaa. But this afternoon, it was just this sudden, simultaneous boom, 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 strike after strike. And they have targeted areas that are outside, not just the southern suburbs of Beirut, but other areas, crowded, mixed sectarian residential areas that are full of the displaced. And, you know, you're talking about Hezbollah targets, but I can tell you that the images that we're seeing now are of women and children in hospitals, and there are images of children being, ricocheting across social media because nobody knows who their parents are. They are wounded in the hospitals, and they don't know who they are. So it's very, very chaotic scenes here in Lebanon.
Yeah, and look, you have been in the city through much of this war, through the Israeli bombardments that have been taking place. Just give us a sense as to how today felt compared to those other attacks. I mean, how much more intense was this?
Very, very intense because of the sheer scale. I mean, you know, you just looked out and there were just plumes of smoke in so many different locations in Beirut. It was hard to, for the first few minutes, you just didn't know what was hit and where, because it was just so extensive. And it's the scale as well. I mean, to give you an idea, there has been an urgent call for doctors across the country to head to hospitals. There have been repeated calls for blood donations of every type. The ambulances from the north of Lebanon are heading to Beirut and to the south to try and assist. So it's a case of all hands on deck. This is much, much bigger than anything that we've seen in this war, or even the previous one, actually.
And we don't have a death toll figure for the moment. There are reports from the Lebanese Health Ministry talking about dozens dead, but as you say, given the scale of this, that figure could well rise. Again, you did touch on this, but expand on it a bit if you can. Different areas of the capital being hit. It's important to emphasise we are not talking about just the southern suburbs of Beirut, where, of course, there are some people who support Hezbollah who live there, not to say that makes it a legitimate target, but this is really across the city, isn't it?
It's very much across the city, and it's in parts of the city that we're hosting many of the displaced. So these are already crowded residential areas, and they're hosting the displaced. There were massive traffic jams after these strikes as people just wanted to flee. But the question was, flee where? Because so many different sites were hit. But the traffic jams were so intense that the Lebanese authorities were urging people to try and get off the street so that the ambulances could get to where they need to get. Just as an example, to tell you about some of the things that were hit, I mean, there is a very famous, very well-known nut roastery in the heart of Beirut that was hit. And the civil defense have talked about how they have removed the workers from this mixed nuts and confectionery store, and they were absolutely charred. They were blackened. So, the extent of areas and the extent of locations that have been targeted. There was a cemetery that was targeted in the Bekaa. There was a funeral going on, and there was a cemetery. So, a whole host of different areas and have been hit. And it happened at the same time. That was the other thing. It was simultaneous.
And look, help us, Rania, analyse this if you can. Look, there's been a lot of confusion, there was confusion earlier on today as to whether or not Lebanon was part of this broader ceasefire regarding Iran. Israel today clearly demonstrating it doesn't believe that, given the bombing of the city. What is your read, what is your analysis as to why Israel is hitting Lebanon so intensely today?
Well, it's clear that the Israelis weren't happy with the ceasefire. I mean, you can hear that from their officials. Even Yair Lapid, the opposition leader, was talking about how Netanyahu had failed because of this ceasefire, and Israel didn't achieve its goals. Israel had said that it wouldn't stop the war here in Lebanon until Hezbollah is disarmed. It had also said that it wanted to occupy parts of southern Lebanon up to 30 kilometers away from its border, but it has encountered intense Hezbollah resistance down south. So it set itself very high sort of bars for in terms of its objectives, and it wasn't able to achieve them. Now, you're talking about confusion. The Pakistanis said that Lebanon was part of the deal. The Iranians said it was across all fronts, and they specifically said including Lebanon. So any confusion seems to be only on the Israeli side. They're the ones who sort of don't want the guns to fall silent. Now, the question now is, what is Iran going to do? There is a report on Fars, the Iranian news agency, saying that Iran may strike back because of this ceasefire violation. So a very, very fragile ceasefire. It is in danger just hours after it was inked.
Rania Abouzeid talking to us live there from Beirut, a city that's come under very intense Israeli attack today. Thank you very much indeed for speaking to us.
Thank you.